Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has hidden unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure, or admire an old one. What will we find today? Let's dig in. Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
Back in Season 1, we discussed the calling of Jeremiah and how God created him to specifically be His mouthpiece to His people during a long rebellious period in Israel's history. The Lord told Jeremiah to do whatever He sent him to do and say whatever He told him to say. God even touched Jeremiah's mouth and said, "I have put my words in your mouth." What a privilege to speak God's words. By chapter 20, however, this privilege felt more like a curse. Jeremiah found himself arrested, beaten, and put in stocks. That wasn't what he'd signed up for. Jeremiah felt completely justified in crying out to God, "You deceived me. You overpowered me. Everyone's mocking me. Every time I open my mouth, your word of violence and destruction comes out. I've become a joke." Later, he curses the day he'd been born. Talk about discouragement. But can you blame him? He'd been doing what God had made him to do. He'd been continually stepping out in obedience, confronting people, saying the hard things. And what does he get for his obedience to God? Beatings, mockery, disgrace. Has that happened to you? You step out in faith, and then obstacle after obstacle comes up. You might lose friends over it. Satan may attack your family or your health or your finances or your marriage. People may talk about you behind your back. Yeah, even church people. These things suck away your joy in obeying the Lord, as it did for Jeremiah. Maybe you've wanted to give up like Jeremiah did. Maybe you've given the Lord a piece of your mind privately like Jeremiah did. Jeremiah wanted out. In verse 9, he decided, "I will not make mention of him, nor speak any more in his name." He made up his mind to quit, give up, throw in the towel. Maybe you've done that too, or wanted to. Maybe you've told God, "I've had it. Give this job to somebody else. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut and keep out of it." But just think, God put you in this position and gave you this job. Remember how Jesus said, "You are the salt of the earth"? What you're doing is essential in God's kingdom. It's part of God's plan. And if you quit, sure, God could use someone else. He'll get done what He wants done. But don't you want to be part of that? As it turns out, Jeremiah didn't quit. He tried, though. But God kept giving him words to say. Jeremiah said, "His word was in my heart like a burning fire, shut up in my bones. I was weary of holding it back, and I could not." Apparently, God didn't accept Jeremiah's resignation. I know if I decided to quit this podcast because it was too time-consuming and I got too much criticism about it, I'd have the same problem. I've met plenty of retired preachers who love filling pulpits or being interims because of this very thing. When God gives you a word to speak or a job to do, if you don't do it, if you don't act upon it, you won't be comfortable until you do. Paul understood this too. He said in 1 Corinthians 9:16, "For when I preach the gospel, I cannot boast, since I'm compelled to preach. Woe to me if I do not preach the gospel." He understood that fire in his bones. Do you? Is there something God has called you to do that you think is too hard or it's gotten too difficult? Maybe writing a book, starting a ministry, reaching out to a difficult person. Whatever it is, do you have that burning inside of you? You can't just quit. Jeremiah kept going. Did things get better? Well, no. He was still ignored, mocked, beaten, imprisoned, and eventually sunk into mud of a cistern. But all he prophesied came true, and the Lord was with him, as He will be with you when you step out in faith and continue with the work that God has given you to do.
As always, we'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to share a treasure, support this ministry, or get Carla to speak at an event, please contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. You can listen to other episodes on our website, which you can find in the description below. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.